It's a common argument in education research that we haven't really learned until we think about our own thinking, reflect on it, and internalize it through that reflection. And then, once we completed that process, I would argue that we need to share with others. Otherwise, what are we doing here? By doing this, you're engaging what's called public scholarship. So, what's that? What's public scholarship? If you think about maybe a professor expert on the news or consultant with the film, that's part of it. When I was younger, I used to listen to this podcast called The Tolkien Professor. It was this medievalist, Corey Olson, talking about Tolkien's Legendarium and looking at the different roots of it in Middle English and Old English poetry and in Boethian thought from the philosopher Boethius. These are all good examples, but they're a subset that we call the public intellectual. And if we think exclusively about public scholarship in these terms, that leaves out a lot of people who are engaged in it. First, there's you. As student researchers, and that's what you are, you hold an important intermediary role between the university and the community, especially your local communities when you go back home. And then, this is a very important one that we forget about a lot, there's the communities that universities are already embedded in. So it's not that we're going to a community, a university is already in a community. So often we think of public scholarship as something that goes outward from the university, but it's actually a mutually enriching experience. Here's a broader way to think about it. Here's how I would define it. Public scholarship is the collaborative creation and dissemination of knowledge undertaken by multiple community members with the twofold objective of 1, strengthening bonds between centers of higher education and the communities they inhabit, and 2, reaching a richer understanding of reality in ways inaccessible to any group alone. So it's going to be community building with a concept of equality between the community members who are trying to build a project. And it's going to be dialogical in the sense that we learn about reality and have more insights by talking with each other across communities than alone. Here's another way to think about it. My favorite writer in education was the 70s priest, Ivan Illich. Embedded throughout his opposition to factory schooling and the factory schooling system is this idea of, here's the quote, I love this idea from him, the non-professional ministration of a neighbor. I think that's the heart of public scholarship and community engagement. We're neighbors and we need each other. So step back from the rubric I've given you and ask yourself, am I being a neighbor to my audience? If you answer yes, then the rubric won't matter.